All right. We got one more queen for you. She's outspoken, she's irreverent, unfiltered, and she's hysterical. And that's why we love her. She's a comedian and a firebrand activist who has become a fierce ally for all of us. And she uses her considerable platform to entertain and to educate and to activate. One week she may be defending dreamers. The next she's advocating for women's rights and our rights. Or maybe she's just trying to discover if in fact our president has syphilis. Is there anyone here who marched with her through a snowstorm during Sundance? You can see her show every Friday on Netflix. She is the cure for the American hangover. Please give a massive Utah welcome to Chelsea Handler.
Let it all out. These are the things I can do without. Come on, I'm talking to you. Come on.
Thank you so much. Sit down. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I mean, I came here and I was like, oh, I'm going to go speak for the LGBTQ community. And now I'm like, I don't have anything important to say at all. That doesn't mean I'm not going to say it, because I fucking will. But I just want to say, I am so humbled to see what this show tonight, this attendance, everybody's passion and fervor, it moves me. And I was supposed to come here to inspire you, but I am beyond inspired, and it is an honor for me to be here. So I have some prepared things, and sometimes I don't stick to it, and sometimes I do. I don't know what I'm going to do either, so let's just see what happens. I want to say this is the gayest thing I've ever done, and I couldn't be more proud. I also want to say everyone in this room is inspiring, because you live in a state that is redder than a dress in The Handmaid's Tale. And yet, somehow, Salt Lake City just elected a lesbian mayor, whom I met today. I met her this afternoon. You have 2 gay city council members. And Utah was the first red state to overturn a gay marriage ban. So it's pretty fucking impressive. At this rate, next year's gay pride parade will be like a bunch of, magic rainbow Mormon underwear. They'll be like, oh, what happened? Whoever's running the prompter, try and keep up with what I'm doing, please. Okay. I want to say that on a more serious note, I want to say something like that's true to me and powerful. Like, I think everybody in this room, I know what it's like to feel left out. And you probably look at me and go, what are you talking about? Whatever you think of me. I know what it means to be made fun of, to have been teased, to have people gaining pleasure from making you feel like shit about yourself. Because I went to high school. And I think the toughest time I can ever remember was being in high school. Even as an adult, I'm like, this is pretty easy. Because I'm white and straight and cute. Like, it's pretty easy. But I remember, and I'll never forget, being in high school and being made fun of by girls. It doesn't matter what their impetus or motivation was. You know, when you're being made fun of when you're in puberty or at any age when you're developing, it feels awful. I would come home and tell my mom, the senior girls are chasing me down the hallways, telling me that I'm a dog, that I'm ugly, and barking at me. And my mom's like, well, obviously they're jealous. I'm like, it doesn't matter if that's what they are. I don't want somebody barking at me on my way to first period. Like, it doesn't, that's great that that's your, like, set of ideas. I'm still fucking in high school. Like, I'm trying to tape my boobs down. I'm trying to not cause a ruckus. Like, I just want to, like, coast. And my mom would say that, and these girls were terrible. You know, they would be like, roof, roof, and, like, literally walking. Obviously, they're jealous in hindsight, but at the time, it doesn't matter what they are. It was awful. And then my friends, one by one, just, like, left me. And they wouldn't talk to me either, because they didn't want to be made fun of walking down the hall to their locker to first period. And so by the end of freshman year, I had no friends. No one would talk to me because they're like, you're trouble. You attract trouble from the senior girls. You're trouble. I was like, well, who's going to be my friend? You know, no one was going to be my friend. And that shit doesn't ever leave your body. So when you know what it's like to feel excluded, you don't ever want to forget what that feeling is like again. I mean, I had a calendar in high school, like literally marking the days to when I could become an adult. I was like, I'm just gonna move to LA and then I'll just be rich and famous and then fuck all those guys. That was my plan. I wanted to prove to every single girl I grew up with, and then the boys also started it on me, so it was just like, you know, it never stopped. And it may not sound bad, but I know everyone here knows what I'm talking about. You know, I knew they were wrong about me. I didn't believe what they were saying. I didn't believe I was fat or stupid or ugly. I didn't believe that. I believed I was special. I was like, I'm fucking special and I'm gonna prove it. And I wanted to prove, like, my whole motivation in high school was to get out of high school and prove to every single person in that school that they missed out by not knowing me. I was like, I'm gonna go to Hollywood, I'm gonna become famous, and I'm gonna get some fucking respect. And I knew I had something to say, and I didn't know what I was gonna say. I didn't know how I was gonna say it, but I knew I wanted to be heard. And I wanted people to know more than anything that I was more than the names I was being called at school. I believed I was pretty, I believed I was smart, I believed that I was gonna be recognized for all the things that were being said that were not true. And I don't know why I held myself in such high regard, but I did. And I was a fighter. And on that very last day of school, there was no one happier than I was that high school was over and I could start my life. I wasn't there on that day because I skipped, but I do remember being ecstatic. And on that day, I said to myself, I promised myself, I was like, I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. And so by the time I moved to Los Angeles and I was like, 18, I didn't even, I skipped college. Sorry, I'm a little tipsy. I've had a lot to drink. I've been here. When I get to a state that has like limited rules on drinking, I'm like, fuck you assholes. I'm gonna drink more than you ever even saw. So, excuse my list. But when I got to Hollywood, I was like, oh, you want to reject me? I'm okay with that. I'm welcoming I can take it. I didn't blink at it. I expected it, and I was like, good. The more no's I hear, the closer I am to hearing a yes. And for an industry littered with being rejected, I had really good training. And I knew the minute that I got one person to say, yes, you are special. The minute one person said that to me, I knew that there would be another person that said it soon after, and then another, and then another, and then another. I never believed what anybody said to me that made me feel bad about myself. I refused to. And I just thought, what else can I do? I mean, I don't really have any other skill sets, just other than talking, you know, and being passionate. And I remember one woman said to me, a casting director said to me, she said, you know, you don't really like have like any acting skills, or you don't speak any other languages, like you're not skinny enough, you know, this and that. And I go, listen, bitch, I go, you don't have to help me, but you're not gonna stop me. And I think it's so important to understand to every single person in this room that you are loved and that you are felt and that we receive you. We are all here for a great cause. Like I always thought when I was younger, I was like, if I just could become successful, I'd be a really good person. Like if I just had a pool, I would do really great things for the world, and I would be an asshole to stand here today and pretend that it was hard for me to succeed in my career. It was not hard. It wasn't, because I'm white and I'm a woman, and my parents had a little bit of money. Like I have never had to struggle in my life. You know, my brother died, my mom died. I've had heartbreak. I've been broken up with. I've had terrible times in my life, but I've never had to sleep outside. I've never been hungry. I'm not a refugee. I'm not gay. I'm not questioning my sexuality. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not Syrian. I'm none of those things. And that's why it's so fucking important for every single white person in this country to stand up and stick up for every group that is marginalized. Because it's not about what we have been experiencing. Like, you know, it's not about our experience. It's not, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't think about there's gender disparity. I mean, I make this much money a year. Just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean it didn't happen. And for everybody who doesn't believe in white privilege, that's because you're white. As usual, I've gone way off track. Hold on. I want to tell you like a personal story because, I mean, because this is a special night and I want to share. So, you know, like during that time in high school, I would dread going and I would call, and my parents transferred me one time to a different school. That's how bad it got, or how bad I was at like dealing with controversy. And then these girls, and there was a head girl, you know, like the leader of the pack, and her name was, well, I probably shouldn't say that, Allison Ubaldi. And she was so mean to me, and she was so pretty, and she was so skinny, and everything that you think of when you're growing up, you're like, I want to be her, I want to be friends with her, how do I make her like me? And so those years went by, and it was, you know, it was horrible. And I moved to LA when I was 18, and I was like, I'm gonna, you know, I just wanted to get away from my community, away from my history. And then one year, like 7 or 8, 10 years maybe after I graduated from high school, I was performing at Radio City Music Hall in front of a sold-out audience for the 4th night in a row. And that Allison Ubaldi was in the audience. And I got backstage, and they have this list of VIPs who are gonna like get to see you and meet you, and it said Allison Ubaldi, and I go, no fucking way. And I went to the meet and greet, and this is 10 years, maybe, yeah, it was about 10 years, yeah, 1828. And I went back, and she was so excited to see, this girl never even said hello to me. I mean, the last time I saw her, she was barking at me. And she came up and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it, look at you. And I have been waiting for so many years for that fucking moment. My whole impetus for my entire career was to prove to those girls that I was cool, that I was pretty, that I was skinny, that I was funny, that whatever bullshit comes into your head when you're not a full human being. And I saw her and I hugged her and I was like, it's so good to see you. And she goes, can you believe it? And I'm like, yes. Can you? And I was like, where are you living? And I grew up in Livingston, New Jersey. And she goes, I still live in Livingston. I was like, I bet you do. And she said to me, she said, I'm so sorry about the way I treated you. And I said, you know what? I'm not mad at you. Like, my life is so much better than yours will ever be. Like, I'm going to the south of France tomorrow on a private plane, and you're going back to Livingston. But I really wasn't mad because I think, you have whatever, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that motivation. I'm grateful for the fact that I had to prove myself, that I have a career in Hollywood because I was trying to get some girl back from high school. How dumb is that? But I am grateful. I am grateful for that kind of motivation. I am grateful that people make you struggle, because if we didn't struggle, we wouldn't know who we are, and we wouldn't stand up for each other. And it's hugely powerful. And I want to say to everyone in this room that is like on the cusp of their career or is about to begin their lives, their adult lives, it doesn't matter if you're only good at one thing. That's fine. All you need is one thing that you're fucking great at. My sister was like, you're just really good at talking, so you need to find something where you can do that. And I was like, great, I'll just talk for a living. And she's like, good luck. And look at me. So here I am. Because you can take that gift, whatever it is whatever your gift is, and be confident enough to just find out your one gift. You don't have to be cocky. You don't have to be a narcissist. You have to find one thing that means something in your gut that you know that you're good at, and you can have an impact, and you can make people feel special, and you can spread good messages, and you can stick your neck out for people that you don't know. You can be bold, and you can be proud, and you can become exactly the person that you hoped you would become when you grew up. And then there was an election. And I don't want to bring the room down, but I want to tell you a little bit about my kind of trajectory since that election. It was that thing in 2017 where the Russians decided who our president was going to be. And I always thought I was pretty socially conscientious. I paid attention to politics, social injustice. I've always shown up for the LGBT community, but I mean now it's a different thing for me now, because now there's a queue. Not only is there a queue, but there's more of a responsibility. I realized I was coasting. I was coasting on 8 years of our first black president. I was coasting on 42 years of white privilege. So my message to you tonight is about promising myself on that day after the election, which really rocked me and shook me. And I don't mean to, for the people that are here that did vote for Donald Trump, I do not want to shame you. I understand that there is division in this country, but I want to tell you that the day after that, I made a promise that I will stand up for every single community that feels marginalized or discriminated against for the rest of my life. To do my very, very best every single day to reach out and touch every single person who feels left out, who feels out of place, because there is a place for every single one of us, and the more I grow, the more I seem to have to give, and the more love and kindness I have in my heart to be tolerant and to see the beauty in each and every person that is not like you, to reach out and touch the person that you have nothing in common with, and to say, please tell me about your story. I want to learn, I want to hear you, I want you to be heard. I read more, I show up more, I drink more, and I talk a little bit less, except for right now, because I have to talk right now. Okay, that's all my personal stuff. I want to just give you a little bit of stats so we can all leave here knowing, if you didn't know already, obviously we all are here for the same reason, and I think every person in this place must have a good heart to be here tonight. And I want to just say marginalized groups and obviously the entire global LGBTQ community need allies now more than ever. Given the colossal step backwards that our country has taken in the past year, I'm not hopeless, I am hopeful, because there is no other choice. And it's nights like these where we all really, really have to look around and say, don't give up, we're all here, we all got here tonight, this is good. Let's do another thing tomorrow. You have to be tireless. You have to continue to always push it. Even when I'm fucking tired and I feel bloated and fat, I get up and I'm like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to show up. You got to do it. You got to do it. And if you're so tired, if you are so tired, take a nap, take a time out. But you get back up the next day and you fight, because people fought for us for so many years. It would be so disrespectful not to do the same in their honor. I'm just gonna skip through all this bullshit. I think I made my point. I want to say I'm sort of Mormon, not really, but my mom was Mormon. My mom was Mormon and my dad was Jewish, and my sister converted to Mormonism. So, I mean, I kind of know. I read the Book of Mormon, and I mean, I wasn't that impressed, but I read it. And so I was 10 years old so I grew up thinking my mom was Jewish, because she went up, I went to Hebrew school and we had bar and bat mitzvahs, my brothers and sisters, I was the youngest of 6 kids. And my mom would get up and speak Hebrew and talk, and I was like, oh, my mom is such a great German Jew. And then I had a brother die when I was 10, and then my mom went back to religion, and I was like, what is this religion that she's talking about? My dad's like, she's actually Mormon. She's been pretending to be Jewish the whole time. And I was like, what? I was like, what's Mormon? He's like, don't worry about it. It's not a real thing. And so my mom would try and teach me about Mormonism. I'm like, why are you wearing that underwear? Aren't you fucking hot? I didn't get it at all. And I was like, just on principle alone, I'm like, this doesn't add up. I'm like, A, where are the gay people? And B, where, I mean, how many people are you allowed to marry? And it was the Old Testament. I don't know if that's the Bible, or the Book of Mormon. I really don't know. But the point is, so my mom passed away, and my brother died when he was 21, and he was the oldest of 6. So my dad had a Jewish, plot set for our family. He had to buy when my brother died unexpectedly. It was a tragedy. It was a terrible thing. And he bought a little Jewish plot in a Jewish cemetery. And you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery if you're not Jewish. So 20 years later, when my mother died, my dad's like, we have to bury her next to Chet, that's her son. And we're all like, yeah, we're on board with that. He's like, but she's Mormon. And we're like, what's the game plan? And he's like, okay, we're gonna have a Jewish funeral. I'm like, cool. And so we had a Jewish funeral, except for the fact that everybody that showed up was from her Mormon church. Going, why the fuck is a rabbi running the ceremony? And I looked at my sister, she's like, don't make eye contact with anybody. She's like, look away. Which makes me just realize that religion is just it's all nonsense. We're all here together. We all want to help each other. And that's what Equality Utah is doing. This place, or this organization, is doing incredible work. I'm honored to be here tonight. They're actively inviting people with various different religious backgrounds and political beliefs to join them as they work to secure equal rights and protections for the LGBTQ people in this state. And that's why we need to continue supporting their efforts and then the work they do, and that still needs to be done. And by giving whatever you have to give. I have money, I give it. If you have time, give it. If you have influence, give it. You can run for the school board, you can run for city council, you can mentor at-risk youth. Sorry, I'm so dyslexic right now. At-risk youth, adult onset dyslexia. And you can reach out to people that you see that are not like you. So we all have to sit here and open our minds, open our hearts. It can't be a one-night affair. It has to be inveterate. And understand that everyone is someone. Every heart and mind deserves to be heard and held and comforted and loved. And the more differences you have with someone who is unlike you, the more reason you should learn their story. You should learn about them. You have to make an effort always. And if you need a break, like I said, you take one. And I just want to say to anyone here in this room who is unsure of the future, gay is not going away. And brown is also here to stay. So get on fucking board with the future. Thank you guys. I brought a video to show you.